Hello, everyone. I'm coming for the energy reading of the week with the Healing Burnout um, Oracle deck that I've created, and we're going to pull a card to see what the energy of this week is supporting for us in order for us to reach new levels of success without burnout, which is incredibly important. And actually, spiritual tools can help us to do that. Now, I've just seen the card that I've pulled, and it's putting a smile on my face because I discussed this topic precisely in on Friday's podcast episode. So I have a podcast called Spirituality for Leaders, which is available on pretty much all the podcast platforms, but definitely on Apple Podcast and Spotify. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of steam in my glasses. It's so hot today here in the UK, in the southwest of England. We're like in 27 degrees Celsius, which for some people might not seem very hot, but for us who are not heat creatures, it is quite warm. So the card that came up is time, which is so interesting. As I said, the podcast episode this week is called Not Enough Time. I absolutely encourage you to go and listen to it because the recommendation on this card says your relationship with time needs to change, and there is an energy portal available at the moment. I'm not saying that it's going to close anytime soon, but there's an opportunity for those of us who are willing to do the work to step into a different time-space continuum. And that time-space continuum means that we can stretch and bend time and experience it in a very different way than our ancestors did, or even our peers. What it requires, though, is to keep an open mind, and the first thing I talk about on the podcast, but I will go into much more detail on the podcast than on this Facebook Live, because this video, and I say Facebook Live, this is actually going to be posted on YouTube and my other platforms, but I'm recording it on my page, Spiritual Lawyer. Now, most of us have been raised to believe that time and money are intimately linked, which means that the more we work, the more money we earn. And that's actually comes from the industrial time when people would clock and then they would be rewarded by how many hours they spent in the factory. And I actually worked a job where you had to clock when I was a student. I worked in the department store where we had these little cards that we had to put in when we came in the morning, and then we would take them out when we left in the evening, and that determined how much we were paid. We are entering a different paradigm now, and this is partly thanks to the pandemic. So even though the pandemic was traumatic for most of us, it has had some benefits since, in the sense that people are, first of all, there's many more opportunities to work remotely than before. So we're talking about this space continuum that is changing. The home can more and more be where you work. And for parents like me who, I actually home educated my children, that would have been so helpful to be able to work around the homeschooling, especially for tasks that can be done asynchronously. I could have fitted a bit of work in the morning before my kids got up, maybe at lunchtime when they had a break. At the time, that is up until 2021, I shared the homeschooling with my ex-husband, so I had more time to myself, even though a lot of it was dedicated to the household and various things. So people can work from home. Now, obviously, it's a privilege to be able to have a separate space to work in your home, and not everybody can. But there's now so many more opportunities to work in cafes or co-sharing spaces. And really, all you need is a desk and a computer, for the most part, for people who work online. And actually, helping people create businesses online is one of my specialty, and I've had people with this since 2018. I myself took my business online in 2015. But the whole time money continuum is even further than that. It's about realizing that you don't need to attach the creation of income and wealth to time that you spend in your business or whatever it is that you do. There's a lot of opportunities to have passive income nowadays, especially if you have know-how and intellectual property. And despite what people say about AI, if you offer a transformation rather than just information, you will always be useful. Your help will always be valued. Maybe not by everyone. Some people think that they can do things alone, and they might very well be able to. However, information has never made things happen. Think of yourself. If you have tried before, let's say, to quit smoking, you might have read, not to mention income from publishing books. So this is the opportunity that we have that most people didn't have even 5 or 10 years ago. It's now blossoming, it's flourishing. People have more control over how they earn a living. And I suppose at the same time, since we're talking about time, it's not just that. There's also a need to be very intentional with your time, because it's so easy, and I do that myself, to get sucked into social media scrolling or Netflixing. And I think there's a value for Netflixing at a certain period of time, but there's also, if you do it too much, you're kind of wasting your time away, or your life away. So there's that. It's very important to curate your time, to be intentional, and to protect it. Protect your time. It's sad, but it's people who are diagnosed with terminal illness that suddenly realize how precious time is. But until we get to that point, usually we don't appreciate as much as we should. It's the same as you don't appreciate your shower until your shower breaks down. It's complacency. We all do it. And that's why actually one of the most powerful meditation that you could do is a meditation when you imagine what it's like if you only have one day to live. Believe me, I was kind of angry at the person who ran that meditation when I started my spiritual path. And I know that Steve Jobs did it on a regular basis, but it's actually so powerful to help you prioritize things and spend time on the things that really matter to you. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to say no to a lot of things if you only had one day to live. You'd be thinking really hard on what are your priorities, your values, and what is really important to you. So this is the energy that's supported this week. It's going to allow you to learn how to use your time in a different way. And please go and listen to the podcast episode, because I have 3 tips on how to use your time differently and how to optimize it. And one of them is time harvesting, which I've been doing for absolutely decades due to the constraints of my homeschooling my children. And just for the record, at one point I managed to earn it was between £2,000 and £5,000 a month by working only one day a week in my business and the rest of the time homeschooling. So this time harvesting, this being intentional about time, is incredibly important. If you're already in a job, that could mean that you can create an income on the side of your job that would allow you at some point to leave your 9 to 5 if you have one. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to message me if you'd like to have a chat with me, do a discovery call. There will be a link in the description box above or below this video, wherever you watch it. Share it with anyone you think might benefit from watching this video, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.